we're going to work on Peeler, and this is a new version of this exercise. So if you have the old one with the reissue, this has been changed a little bit. We don't have the reissue here. So Peeler, when they were incorporated, authorized 1 million shares, and that doesn't mean that they've ever issued it, but they couldn't issue more than that. So that's a piece of paper filed with the Secretary of State in the state in which they're incorporated. Okay, fine. And then we see the description of the stock. The preferred stock is $100 par, 7% cumulative non-participating. So those are meaningful and indicate the rights and obligations under this for this particular preferred. So that $100 par, 7% is the secret code for what is the maximum dividend per share that they can get. And the cumulative indicates that if you miss a year or part of a year, you have to make that up in the future before the common shareholders can get a dividend. So this is year one, they just incorporated, so there can't be any dividends that have been missed, or what we call in arrears. So that won't come up in this particular example, but in a different example that may play out. And then we have common stock, which has a $5 par. And so starting January of that first year, they issued some preferred stock and some common stock. So let's record that. So they issued 500 shares. And in the preferred stock account, you're required to put par. You can't issue for less than par. And anything above par goes in the paid-in capital and excess of par account. So the only thing that goes in the preferred stock account is par. And so that would be 500 shares times the $100 par. And then we got more than par. So that amount above par, which is $20 in this case, because we issued it for 120 and par is 100. So that 20 is in excess of par. So that would be times the 500 shares. For the common, we issued 4,000 shares, and we have to put the par in the common stock account, and anything above par goes in the paid-in capital in excess of par. So for those 4,000 shares, par is $5. And then it was issued for more than $5. It was issued for 80. So that's 75 above par. And so that 75 per share times the 4,000 goes in the paid-in capital of in excess of par. Then we issued some more shares, some more common shares for a building. This says land, but they meant building. We can change that. And what did they get for it? They got, it was selling at $70 a share. Okay, so we always have to put par here. So we have to put par times that 1,000, and then the amount above par goes here. Well, if it was issued when it was valued at 70, $5 of that goes in par, and the other 65, the amount above $5, goes in paid-in capital in excess of par. So just because you got land or building or something other than cash, you value it. This is the asset you got to exchange, and that's considered contributed capital. Good. All right. Then they acquired shares from the market. They are repurchasing their own shares in the market. That contracts contributed capital. When you issue shares, contributed capital gets bigger. When you buy them back from the market, it contracts contributed capital. So we're reacquiring stock and we're holding them in treasury. So we'll put in here 500 shares times what they paid, which was 60, repurchased from the market. That is a contra equity count. It reduces equity. It contracts contributed capital. And so this will be a negative when we're calculating total equity. All right, then they had net income, and net income increases retained earnings. And then we have a dividend. Now, they paid $5 a share to common. They can't pay anything to common until what? Until the preferred shareholders get their maximum per share for the year and any arrears. We don't have any arrears because it's the first year of business. But we've got to pay that $100 times 7%, that secret code, that's $7 per share maximum dividend. We have to pay that 7 times each of the preferred stock shares. So they have to get the $350, that's going to preferred, and then we've got to pay $5 times the number of outstanding shares of common. So the shares outstanding would be the 4,000 issued plus the 1,000 issued minus the 500 that are in Treasury. So outstanding shares is issued minus Treasury. And then to create the financial statement, we would add up the dollar amounts here so that we can use them in our financial statement below. So we have the preferred stock, and there's 500 shares outstanding there. And then we have the common stock, where there's 5,000 shares of that issued, not outstanding, issued. And it's bleeding over into my little donut. There we go. All right, so we've got $500 going in the preferred and the $25,000 in the common, and then the paid-in capital in excess of par. And so then typically we would add those up and get the total contributed capital. And then we have retained earnings. Oops, what did I do wrong here? That should be a negative. There we go, fixed. And then treasury stock, which we will subtract when we get total equity. So total equity will be total contributed capital plus net retained earnings minus treasury. Be very, very careful that you minus treasury. And there you go.